nights there is work. If you're lucky, your work observes some holidays during the year. Sometimes they observe the minimum, like Christmas, New Year, Independence Day, Labour Day, Thanksgiving Day, and maybe one or two others, but the multitude of President's Days and all the rest of it, no, we don't get those because you're working. And she's lived here a couple of years now, so it's not like it's a surprise that, no, I don't get Christmas break. And when you go to work, you won't either. But we'll see how that works out. She has a lot of delusions about what life's going to be like when she's an adult. So, yeah, that's not how adulting works, but you know, you keep believing that, and I mean, you can only tell her so much, and then she doesn't remember it, she doesn't pay attention to what you tell her, so for some reason there's patches of ground there that looks like stubble from harvesting sugar beets. As far as I know, this field has never had sugar beets in it, so kind of weird. There we go. So I am overlapping a bit here, but I am making sure that the corner is a continuous line of seed through there. A little bit awkward this, I guess. I think what I might do next time through is we'll run all the way across the top and then do that far edge, fill up that triangle, and then I have the big block of rows in the middle and that triangle over there, and I might end up just doing the triangles on their own. Don't want to go from this end of the field because obviously I have to estimate where that line is, or that edge is, when I'm not on it. Anyway, so last run down here. Obviously, because of the way the field slopes here, it is a little bit easier to obviously get to the end here and turn right, so that we're running along the edge of the field. So I did watch, can't remember, YouTube video this week. YouTuber does driving over grass swaths damage the yield? So he mowed the grass, and initially he drove over it with a 4-track, the big quad, 20-ton tractor, and it doesn't compact that grass swath by any great amount. So he went back and got the Massey Ferguson 9S and drove over it. That does compact grass swaths. But when he compared the yield to a pristine grass swath and one that had been driven over by the Massey Ferguson 9S, he found that the yield was pretty much the same. Margin of error, yeah, there's sort of 798 to 816 for a single grass swath. It's like, well, it's kind of close enough that it's the same. And obviously that's good news, because if you cut grass, stick it in a silage bunker and then compact it, what you don't want is to destroy the grass that's in the silage bunker as you're driving over it, because technically that's still a yield. It's just how compacted is the bunker. So yeah, no damage to grass or presumably straw for just driving over it as a swath. And also, I mean, you think about it, we've now got the swather and collector head for a harvester. You kind of don't want, you swath the wheat or whatever, and then you harvest it, or then you go around and pick it up off the ground. If driving over it destroys it, that can make, especially doing something like using workers, a liability. I need to go and get my worker to go and pick that up, and it's like, yeah, he's just going to destroy half your crop doing it. And it's like, yeah, that's not ideal. So yeah, I could shuffle over, put this over here. Okay. So I think the way I should approach this is turn that in there, and then we'll pick it up and turn around. So because of the way this field slopes at this end, I'm basically just going to sail up here and do the headland kind of like that, and I should have missed the hedge, and I should still be on the edge. That's all good. And then I can use whatever it is I'm doing here. Ding, dong, turn around. Actually, I'm thinking I just do this. Tractor's got a good turn on it, so I'll get this well covered. And then I don't have to worry too much about using guidance steering on this section too much. 1, 2, and gonna be a tiny little triangle. Of course, what you need to do is lower the cedar so that you do actually plant stuff. That's always good for a thing. So we'll just turn around and we'll do that. We should be able to make that a left turn. All right, and I did lower it this time. Yes. Good move. Okay. So if we come down there, I'm going to headland across the bottom here. This is very untied. Fortunately, we'll come through here with the roller and fix all of these contours. Okay. So that's that end done. Lift that up, turn around, and now I can just run the rows. Hopefully the angle of the field at the bottom here does mean that we're probably not going to end up with much of a triangle of missed ground. Top end is a problem though. Might want to run another headland. So, anyway, I suppose the other thing I can check is how does this field actually look? We are building up nitrogen here, not building up nitrogen where I ploughed. This may be too heavy, but I'm not sure. More importantly, I want to know pHs. This field looks bad. The blue bit needs to come down. This field also looks bad. S grey top 2, good. Actually, it's morning for me. It is a choice. This series I do, it's a long running. I stream on Saturday mornings only at the moment because real life happens. The reason I don't do Farm Sim 25 is this is not a brief series, so we play these for a good year, 18 months. So I want a good map that I can really delve into, and so I don't go on to Farm Sim 25 immediately. I want some of the modders to create some maps, and I will select one that I'm inspired by, and then I move over to Farm Sim 25 at that point. Also, in past seasons, we've had I like to play with actual seasons, precision farming, and a couple of other mods that I like to have available. So I've held back moving to the new version of the game on a Saturday for when those mods actually come around. So I would mention that with Giants they introduced seasons for Farm Sim 19, so that was one mod that I didn't have to wait for. Sorry, for FS22 they introduced seasons, not quite the seasons we were used to in 17 and 19, but it was I felt it was good enough that I didn't have to wait for Realismus to produce a seasons mod. But precision farming was something I play with, so you would find if you go back in my library on YouTube, I didn't start Farm Sim 19 until we got precision farming available. Now 25 doesn't have precision farming, so yet, but I'm actually considering I might skip out precision farming on the next Saturday series, but I do want a map that I can look at and say, okay, I can play this map for a year, 2 years, and not get bored on it. And I have goals for the map. This one has boiled down to I want to produce stuff in the bakery, and the bakery has a lot of complicated productions, so that's why I'm planting sugar beets, because I actually need yeast for the bakery, and you get yeast from processing sugar beets or sugar cane. But Map Scotland, I don't do crops that are outside the what you would normally find in the area that the map is based in. Yeah. Oh yes, I'm not afraid of beet farming. Potatoes is another matter. I've even done beet farming with tractor-hauled beet harvesters. I'm opposed to doing potato farming the same way because unfortunately the tractor-hauled potato harvester only has 1.5 meters working width, and I'm really not into that. I might be somewhat of a masochist, but not entirely. But really, beet harvesting is a really good income. I missed a bit there. It does take more work and it's difficult to store, but with the productions that were added in Farm Sim 22, you can store the beets in the sugar factory, which is kind of fun. Potato harvesting, not quite so much fun. I don't think there's a potato production that you can store your potatoes in, so you either need a big multi-fruit silo or something like that to store your potatoes in. In Farm Sim 19 I did store my beets on the ground, which got a little bit cramped in Oakfield Farm, but I did it because I kind of figured, if you want to make money really quick, plant a field of beets. I did play a smaller playthrough back when I was streaming weekdays. One of the fields I bought had potatoes in it, so I figured, I'll lease a tractor-hauled potato harvester and grow potatoes for a change. And then at the end of that, you end up with potatoes. Now, fortunately, the map I was playing on had multi-fruit silos, so I could store the potatoes in the silo. And then all I did was I used the potatoes I'd harvested to plant a slightly bigger field and sold the rest. And repeated that for about 3 seasons. And then I was actually able to afford the potato harvester, self-propelled one, which did make things a lot easier. Sugarcane I don't like because the harvester has a very restricted width, and you have to drive a tractor next to it. It's kind of like foraging. Using a forage harvester, it's not easy to do in a solo play because you need to set the harvester off on a worker and then follow it in a tractor with a cart to collect the stuff that's thrown off the back. Now, this is actually the second Farm Sim 22 series. First one was on Maypole Farm, and I don't know what it was. I've got a feeling I had some mod conflicts, but the bale physics was frightening. And so this one, I just said, since I'm playing with the same mods, I'm not going to be using bales on my farm. I kind of relented a little bit. I've got an auto-load bale trailer, and I do wrapping contracts and hay contracts with bales, but I don't keep bales for personal use. The advantage with bales in wrapping contracts is they turn into silage immediately, so that you can deliver them and get paid. The problem with your own bales is they sit around for one game month, and that's one game month longer than I really want bales sitting in the game and causing issues. So although I've eased up again, I now have one of my fields is just grass that I've got no use for, so I mow it, I wrap it, and a month later we'll go grab the bales and sell them immediately. But I don't pick them up, I don't move them, I just leave them where they lie and then go with the auto-load trailer to grab them, because I don't want to tempt fate. But yeah, I had so much trouble with bales on Maypole. I even had a bale storage shed, and the problem was when I spawned the bales, half of them would spawn underground and disappear, and it's like, okay, well, I've just lost 20 bales to the ether. And the problem with that is because they're under the map somewhere and still in the game, you can't reset them or anything, but they start causing lag the more and more bales are sitting under your map. So I am actually using a mower and loading wagon to collect grass to turn into silage, and I'm using a forage harvester to forage maize. We're in Scotland. Typically maize or corn is not grown in Scotland. Now back in 2018, 2019, a couple of Scottish farms decided they would grow maize specifically as animal feed. So I allow myself that get out clause. I do not harvest maize on a Scottish map, because if you're doing a straight harvest, you're typically sending it to market as people food. But I will forage maize, and if I had pigs, I would harvest maize because it's a primary food source for pigs. But I don't sell corn that I make. I sell silage that I make, because people don't eat silage. At least none of the people I know. So I tend to research, this map is in Scotland, this map is in Ireland, this map is in Cornwall, whatever. And I look at the counties in that area to see what's the predominant crop grown. So for example, in Scotland, cereal crops, you're looking at barley and oats, because porridge and spirits, scotch. So those are your predominant crops. They do grow wheat to a certain extent, but not as significantly as barley and oats. They grow potatoes because they're a good hardy crop, although I haven't grown potatoes on any of my Scottish maps that I recall. They grow sugar beets, They grow the root vegetables, so carrots and what have you. I'm not playing with any of those from the Platinum expansion, or no, whatever it was, the Premium expansion. And the reason for that is because precision farming was never altered to support those crops, and so I decided to skip them. Since we're so heavily into precision farming, I'm not really one to do stuff that doesn't need to be done, or that just adds complexity. Okay, so we are going to plant maize next month, so I'm going to fill this up now. No, I don't. Seriously, I don't. Jump out, jump in, refill seeder. One of the problems with the control stick I'm using is refill and turn on is the same button. Which is why sometimes I have to jump out of a vehicle and back into it to refill seeders and lime spreaders and all the rest of it. Okay, this tractor, I'm going to leave it outside for now. We'll park it next to the bale trailer and we can probably turn off